Hulk smash!
I'm Steve, and this is ComicsVerse. You can find us online on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google, and YouTube. Taking the word icon to a whole new level is The Wicked and the Divine, or The Wicked plus the Divine, by Kieron Gillen with art by Jamie McKelvie, a new image title that hits the shelf this week and is centered around a group of pop stars who are also gods. Yeah, so for those who don't know the background of it, Kieron Gillen is a huge pop fan. He tweets about it a lot, writes about it a lot, has a lot of very successful series about it, and in this one continues that trend of pop stars and, you know, what's behind them and what's important about them and that lifestyle with this book, but casts them in a fantasy perspective of actually being gods. So just to go through the plot a bit here, we have this main character, Laura, who is going to a show by Amaterasu. For those who don't know, it's a Japanese sun god. Basically, all these people go to these shows, they enjoy what seems to be a musical performance and is sort of drawn and portrayed as such through McKelvie's art, but ultimately winds up with them all basically passing out because they can't handle the fact that this is basically divine magic of some kind happening and enriching these people's lives. They all just kind of pass the hell out, which is a pretty interesting metaphor for the way that a lot of drug culture and things happen for pop shows or raves or things of the like. But that's really not the focus. So continuing here, we have one of these gods who's known as Lucy, who is, through all of the various nicknames presented, Lucifer, and looks like David Bowie. Wherever, just Kieron Gillen, wherever you got the idea to make Lucifer look like David Bowie, that was a brilliant idea. Anyway, getting back to the story, Laura wakes up, gets to meet Amaterasu, which she's super excited about, and there's an interviewer there who talks about all of this stuff of, oh, what's with this trend of gods? We know you're not real, this is all a hoax. So to show in this world, this enriched world, that there are non-believers of these people, again, continuing the not even really a metaphor for the certain parts of the music industry. And then a horrible violent action happens, some more horrible violent action happens, and they all wind up being in this wonderful frame of an enriched, fantastic universe. So what is this really all here for? This book basically is, as Kieron Gillen writes in his afterword, a book about the creators. Kieron Gillen, having been involved in this type of lifestyle for a very long time, really reflects on what's important about these creators, the lives they live, some of the stuff he says, who they screw, and you know, what they do, what happens to them, why they create this art, and is also a bit about him as a creator, how that feels to him, and him being somewhat of a known comic book writer now, more of this life that comes from his actual life, more writing what you know, although on a very grander, deified scale. We see that this god phenomenon has happened many times throughout the years in a generally reoccurring increments of a certain amount of time, where these beings find out somehow, undisclosed, that they are gods, they be gods for 2 years, and then they all die. So this breaks down the idea of the pop star or, you know, creator or artist or whoever it is you're obsessed with, your hero. Someone who's created something that meant so much to you, changed your life, made your life better for even a fraction of a second, but like blissful for even a fraction of a second. What goes into these people? And they all wind up being a little humble, despite the fact that they're gods. I mean, maybe not Lucifer's character, but Amaterasu is being interviewed by this reporter who's, you know, shooting them down, saying that this is all some kind of ridiculous phenomenon that's made up. And she begins talking about how you know, this is just who she is, and, you know, she wants to make lives better for these people. It's an encounter that really enriches people's lives. But what does that mean? Is that for these creators, is that inflate them? Does that make them overly confident? Does it actually help people? Is it selfish? It's a wonderful delve into these people's characters as real people, spanning the gamut of creatorship and what that means on the fans. Again, in his afterword, as he said, this is not a book about the consumers. This is a book more about the creators, and in a very interesting fantasy way that barely has any metaphor in it. The way that real stars and artists are deified by their followings, especially in this current world of, you know, Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook and everybody being able to connect with everybody. You know, it's been such an experience that you know, somebody famous will favorite something that you put on Twitter, and then suddenly your day is made. It's very, very much in that same vein of our obsession with fame, but really examining the lives of the people behind that fame, with a great little bit of interesting mythology thrown in to really hammer in that point that who we make into gods and how they are those gods. So this is a fantastic book. Jamie McKelvie's art is stunning as ever, perfect at conveying facial expression, which is the majority of this book, with just talking and communicating and learning about people. So they all work, the two of them work exceptionally well together, as has been proven so many times in the past. I'm going to give this book, this is a great week. This is another solid 5 out of 5. I'd say really, really pick up this first issue. It's fantastic. Again, the book is The Wicked and the Divine, issue number 1 by Kieron Gillen and Jamie McKelvie. I highly suggest you pick it up. Again, I'm Steve. Thanks for watching, and this is ComicsVerse.